And there's a new writing-themed podcast coming to Iowa City thanks to the Englert Theatre. DITV reporter Oliver Willham tells us what it's all about.
The Englert Theatre is transitioning the Writers of Color reading series into a podcast format. The podcast will feature Iowa-based writers of color discussing their process and reading excerpts from published and unpublished pieces. But the goal isn't just for a passive experience about writing techniques.
I think we're going to have challenging conversations or conversations that are work for the interviewee to discuss, and so we're asking the listeners to do some work on their part as well.
While most people associate literature in Iowa City with something like the Writers' Workshop, this podcast wants to focus on other less represented communities.
It's really important for us to highlight not just one voice, one type of voice, and nobody's a monolith, and we've already gotten some guests that have specifically talked about that, which we need to be really cognizant about too. So what's important, I think it's like giving people this platform to speak.
Especially after this last year, providing a place for writers of color to discuss their art was the driving force behind this project.
If we're not the ones continuing to uplift, specifically like, people of color, writers of color, then it might not happen. So I think that there was that sense of urgency.
Tune in later today for an enlightening first episode, wherever you listen to podcasts. From Iowa City, this is Oliver Willham, DITV.